Hello, and welcome to the video portions for the editing lab of ME123. One of the key benefits of parametric modeling software is that you can easily and robustly modify models to tweak them for new and different purposes, and SolidWorks is no exception. In addition, you can use these tools to fix the mistakes that were made while modeling without having to scrap the entire file. Always a plus. I'm going to begin with this model, whose original purpose and intention have been lost to the sands of time. Let's turn it into a hat. Okay, where to start? Well, let's begin by changing the model orientation. In order to do this, we actually need to change which plane the original sketch was on. Now, a warning. Changing sketch surfaces can often lead to some unintended consequences, so it's most effective if done early in the design process. The option exists, but it's not guaranteed to work the way that you want it to. Changing early sketches in the model leads to an even higher risk of errors, but sometimes it's the only option. Consequences be darned. So, how do we do this? First, we need to find the sketch, which lives here under Revolve 1. By right-clicking on the sketch, we see the option Edit Sketch Plane. Selecting it brings us back in time to when we had originally made this sketch. We can't change the sketch to be drawn on a plane or surface that was created after that sketch was drawn. That can cause time travel paradoxes. Anyway, let's change this plane to the front plane. Hit OK, and now we've got our hat oriented properly. However, this was not without casualties. We can see that our set of holes has been flagged with an error, and the pattern is gone. In addition, our hexagonal cut has been changed. When fixing a model, it's always important to start with the first broken feature on the design tree and work your way down. Sometimes fixing an early feature can fix its child features. Fortunately for us, SolidWorks has a pretty good error message system, so we can use that to guide us. As we hover over Cut Extrude 1, we can see that it tells us that the feature doesn't intersect with the model. And, if we were to look at the sketch, it's pretty easy to see why. This sketch was originally drawn on the front plane, so when the revolve got reoriented, it's left just floating in midair. To fix this, we can change the sketch's plane from the front plane to the top surface of our object here. Now that we've done that, we can hit our green check mark, and not only did we just fix the extrude, we also fixed the pattern. Next up is Cut Extrude 2. As we can see, this sketch was also drawn on the front plane. To fix this, we've got two options. We can either modify the sketch plane for this feature as well, or we can just suppress it. With SolidWorks, you can suppress features if you don't want them in the model, but aren't entirely certain that you want to get rid of them forever. You can do this by right-clicking on the feature that you want to suppress, and selecting the Suppress option. I mean, it wouldn't be a very good hat with a giant hole right in the top, so it's probably for the best. Okay, what next? Let's do something about this giant tube in the middle. On the underside, it doesn't really leave a lot of room for your head to fit in, but I do like the look at the top, so let's see what we can do about it. As I'm sure many of you have already determined, you can right-click on features in the design tree and select Edit Feature to go back into the Features Properties menu. We can see that this tube was made to start on an offset plane, and then extruded until it reaches this flat surface here. I want it to stop a bit earlier, say on the top surface. To change that, we can select the Surfaces box here, and then left-click on the top dome. Once again, you can only choose reference features that were created before this feature was made. No paradoxes allowed. Okay, cool. That looks about right. Let's see, what's next? If we take a section view of our model, we can see that this inner edge looks kind of sharp. Let's modify that. Now, we could create a new fillet, but I don't really want to clutter up our design tree with even more features and parameters. I want the fillet that we've already done to propagate into the shell. In order for this to happen, we'll need to have the fillet occur before our shell feature. Fortunately, time travel is considerably easier in SolidWorks than it is in reality. So, to set our fillet to occur before our shell, we just need to left-click drag the fillet feature right up to here, and we're done. Now, a word of warning. Feature ordering rules in SolidWorks function the same way that time travel rules do in Back to the Future. Child features can't be moved to a point where they interfere with their parent features. For example, if we right-click on our Revolve feature and select Parent Child, we can see that the fillet feature is a child feature of our Revolve feature, meaning that the fillet relies upon the Revolve feature to exist. We can't move the fillet to a point in time before the Revolve exists. However, if we check the same parent-child relationships for the shell, we can see that the shell and fillet features are unrelated. Neither feature relies upon the other feature to exist. By swapping their order, we change the course of history in the model. If you're not careful while making and editing your SolidWorks model, you might accidentally create parent and child dependencies between features. Generally, this is okay, but can make editing more difficult in some situations. For example, Because of the way that this tube feature was defined, with the dimension going to the inner surface of our shell, we can't move the tube to occur before the shell. We could change the way that the dimension was defined, but this could potentially violate design intent. Okay, what's next? Well, last I heard, circular holes in hats are out of fashion, so let's change them to triangles instead. As you're probably aware, you can edit a feature sketch by right-clicking on the feature and selecting Edit Sketch. While we're here, we can actually get away with deleting all of the sketch entities and starting from scratch. So long as we still provide SolidWorks with a closed contour in the end, it will treat it as though that was the shape that was there all along. There we go, we've got our new sketch fully defined, so we can exit our sketch and see what changes have been made to our model's geometry. It's still leaving these bits of geometry on the inside of the hat. Those look kind of dangerous. Let's see if we can remove them. The one extrude cut that we have is being duplicated by this pattern feature, which we're going to discuss further in a future lab. Importantly, the pattern feature is a child feature of the initial cut extrude, and just like we can't move children to occur before their parents, we can't move the parent to occur after their children. In order to fix this, we first need to move the child feature forward to occur after our shell, and then we can move the extrude cut. Great, okay. Last but not least, I want to add a big brim to the front. I've been told that's peak fashion these days. I'd really like for it to be a part of our shell, but I don't want to accidentally make any dependencies before I move it above the shell feature, so it would be convenient if it was made before the shell was created. For this, we can use SolidWorks' user time machine, or the rollback bar as it's formally known. Two ways to do this. We can either left-click drag the rollback bar to move it to right above the shell, the point where we want to do our modeling, or we can right-click the feature that we want to end up before and select Rollback from the context menu. While we're here, we can then create our new extrude, starting by creating our new sketch as always. As per usual, we must make sure that our sketch is fully defined. And then from here we can go over to extrude, select our ending condition, which I'm going to set as up to surface to match the thickness there, and then hit our checkbox. Finally, to wrap things up, we can move the rollback bar all the way to the bottom, either by click dragging or right-clicking at the bottom of the design tree and selecting Roll to End, and that returns us to the present. We can see that the changes that we've made have been propagated all the way down through history. Magnificent. Well, with that, we turned our original object into what could charitably be described as a hat, and maybe we learned something along the way. With SolidWorks, you can edit sketches, features, sketch planes, feature ordering, control feature suppression, and even add new features to earlier points in the design tree. The editing process takes practice, but SolidWorks has plenty of tools that can help you change your models. As always, experiment with the options and see what happens, though I definitely recommend saving first. Have a good day. We will see you again next time.